Hello, world. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Tuesday, August 11th, and we have a big show for you today. Michael Yon is live with us here on the SJ Show all the way from Japan. It is 1:30 in the morning over there, and he has graciously decided to stay up late so that he could talk with all of us today live on this program. Very important topics. You see the highlight and the headlines of today's show. The Iran Quagmire, an American decline by design. Are the calls coming from inside the house? Is the American government at war with its own people? And what type of war is it? Kinetic, psychological, economic, cultural, environmental, technological? We're going to talk about the merger of the United States military and the IDF. We're going to talk about the Iran Quagmire, the endless war that starts and stops and starts and stops, the opening and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and other areas of passage that are impacting the economies and the cultures of Western democracies across the globe, including the United States of America as well. We're going to talk about some of the news of the day that we have been discussing over the past couple weeks on this program. The new independent movement, Tucker Carlson, MTG, Tom Massey. We're going to talk about the recent approval of a new mRNA technology, Fluvisa, the flu vaccine. We were promised by this administration that we would not be pursuing the toxic mRNA platforms, but yet here we are again on the heels of a major presidential executive order that dropped yesterday. Everyone is celebrating Trump's executive order on childhood vaccination. But Mary Talley Bowden had this to say. She said it reads like an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal. No discernible policy outcome, no teeth to any of this, just platitudes and promises, likely empty promises. I have something to say about that. I think that Michael Yon will have something to say about that as well. We also have a scathing open letter to RFK Jr. asking him to step down by a growing voice on Twitter. Her name is Embracing Tara. We might look at that if we get some time, but we are going to focus on geopolitics and how this endless war in Iran is going to have impact here on the U.S. Michael Yon has been growing his platform, joining major platforms, talking about an incoming draft, talking about global worldwide famine, talking about instability, particularly in Western democracies, and the creation of that massive surveillance state, the data centers, plus the surveillance apparatus here in the U.S. Michael Yon has been ringing the warning bells on all of those things. So we're going to get to him in just a minute. But of course, we are broadcasting live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Spreely TV and Roku TV. Hey to everyone who is watching on YouTube and on Facebook and on Substack. It is great to see all of you. Welcome to all of the live chatters on Rumble. Right now, smash that thumbs up button if you're watching on Rumble. Join that live chat. Leave a comment in the comment sections. That's how we grow this show. Hey, great to see you, Ollie Robin 9, the very first chatter on Rumble today. Seawave 7 is with us today. Proctor Surf, great to see you. Hey, Ralph the Flying Dutchman, great to see you as well. Opossum King has joined us. Of course, CJP Rumble is with us as well. Big show today. Towards the end, we will take your comments and your questions in all caps if we can. Big conversation today on the SJ Show. Of course, thank you to our sponsors. You're going to be hearing from them today. We're going to take a couple breaks. Please remember the Shannon Joy sponsors. We could not bring this show to you every day without Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold, without TWC, the wellness company, and amazing doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough, Satellite Phone Store, PCM and Associates, our new friends over at Neutronics with Deer Antler Velvet. Of course, we love the folks over at Unicity, who is joining us as well. And of course, North Idaho Tallow. These are the companies that share your values, and they keep this show going every day. When you see their commercials, if you're in the market for any of their products or services, please make sure that you use the URLs, you use the JOY promo code, and you let them know that we sent you. So let's get into it today. Without further ado, I've already talked enough about all of this. We have Michael Yon joining us today in the Joy Virtual Studio. Thank you so much, Michael, for staying up so late, 1:30 a.m. in the morning, in a tsunami you have, or a typhoon coming in Japan. It's insane, but great to see you. I appreciate you and all of your work. How are you doing today?
I'm well. I can hear the rain starting to hit harder on the window. I've been, having grown up in Florida, I, go through the normal checklist, fill the bathtub, fill with water and all that stuff, check everything. I've been checking it twice. So everything's ready. We're ready. So
Michael, it's apropos for our discussion today, right? The intensity, the insanity, the outrageous, unpredictable nature of the news cycle today and everything that is happening in the world. It feels like a tsunami. It feels like a typhoon every day in my face. Right. So, and I think everyone else feels that as well. But I do think last time I had you on there, I think you were under a tsunami watch, actually, the last time I had you on, if I'm not mistaken. But there was inclement weather then as well. I don't know what it is.
There could have often, especially when I'm in Japan, things like that are normal. This is really land of disasters, and I love Japan, but I mean, Mount Fuji is not far away. You can see it when the sky's clear. It's small, but it's out there. But anyway, so much going on. I mean, what to talk about? There's so many things. Like, actually, you know what? You mentioned Peter Schiff. He's into the precious metals, right? And you mentioned flock cameras. It makes me wonder how much precious metals are in those cameras. That people might want to see it. Is there a lot of silver and gold in those cameras? I don't know. It's been said.
I don't know.
It's been said they're filled with gold and silver.
Michael Yon, the one thing that has warmed my heart as we move through what I believe is a World War III situation. I think we're about halfway through it. I think it started in earnest with the lockdowns of 2020. This is when the oligarchical power structure behind our Western democracies and our presidents and elected leaders really put the pedal to the metal as they try to move us into this new world order. But what has warmed my heart is just the resistance across this country. Also in Great Britain, people are cutting down the flock cameras. They are raging against the data centers. They're organizing left, right, old, young, black, white, all different types of demographics are beginning to understand, even if they don't fully understand it, what these people have in store for us. And I think that's a great thing.
Right. You also mentioned Kennedy. I mean, the guy, what a useless guy. He's just a guy. I'm not even going to call him man. You know what I mean? And now standing behind the Trump guy, while he's signing this thing about 11 jabs instead of 76, as if you need 11. It only takes one. I mean, they're clearly genociding us.
Yeah.
And, here in Japan, Masako, my wife, is more than 33 weeks pregnant now. And it's amazing how much, we're incredibly psyched. She says hello, by the way, but she had to go to bed, obviously.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy for you, by the way. So happy for you. This is so exciting, a new baby, but go ahead.
Oh, we're unbelievably over the top. But we're learning a lot about how much the system here is even worse than the United States or Canada. I mean, it's like, it's human farming, and just, in the United States is human farming as well. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying everything possible and we could go on about that for hours. So we'll kind of bypass it, but to say that using a midwife here and that sort of thing, they make it extremely difficult.
Wow.
The Japanese government, right? Just a simple thing of doing a natural birth is, like a true natural birth, is actually made into almost like a court case here. Not quite to that level, but it's you're threatened, you're cajoled, In the meantime, one of the obstetricians that we had to see by force of law, to use a midwife here, this was June 2nd. We call her the June 2nd obstetrician. She was actually pushing the COVID jab, the death jab. Yeah. I was like looking at Masako like, we got to get out of here. That lady, the only thing she could do worse than that would be to whip out a chainsaw and start cranking it up. You know, I
It's
mean,
horrifying. Well,
that's an actual obstetrician still pushing the death jab on June 2nd, 2026. You can't make
it's
up this stuff.
well, it's insane. And actually I think that's a good starting point for our discussion because I want to try to hit a lot of topics with you today. And I know that we can go into so many different directions, but I want to kind of try to keep this focused because there are a lot of areas that I am very curious as to where your mindset is and what you think about in terms of news of the day and what's happening in Iran. But I think this starting point, the commoditization of the human soul and the human being from pre-birth, natural birth to a very unnatural death. And the amount of money and resource that this system that they seek to build extracts from each human if they can, if we allow ourselves to enter into their system. I think that's why they are so obsessed with keeping the idea and the cult of vaccination in place, regardless. And this dovetails into what Bobby Kennedy is saying now about mRNA shots and the flu shot. It dovetails into what President Trump did yesterday with his executive order. There is a desperation among the elite ruling class to maintain ownership of the human body via the beginning, which is that forced vaccination and vaccinating pregnant mothers. I think it is for profit. I think it's a 21st century human slavery system. Many of us don't even realize it, but it's very different than the slavery systems of the past, where they used bars and chains and shackles, and it was very overt. I think this is a less overt and a very covert method of enslaving humans in their bodies, also their minds. But your thoughts on that, given what we see happening today?
Oh, human slavery is what this is all about. I mean, from birth to death. I mean, straight through. For instance, from birth, they desperately they're looking for any excuse to do cesareans, right? Any excuse that. The midwife yesterday, who spent all day with us yesterday, she talked about when she was giving birth the first time. She was 25, and the hospital cajoled her to come stay early in the hospital at week 35, and there were 6 other mothers, expectant mothers, in the same sort of public hospital, and they didn't want those mothers to even leave their beds. There was nothing wrong with them, right? So one of the mothers, they told her she said she had to go to the bathroom. They told her, just, you'll have to pee in the bed, right? This sort of stuff, right? And the midwife that we were talking with yesterday, she's highly energetic. She's super smart and very energetic. She's actually like you, like super, like go go go, right? Like that's why we call her Special Forces midwife, and she's like, that's what we actually call her. And
I love that.
yeah, and so they actually put her on an IV, and she said it kind of slowed her down, so she got rid of the IV. And anyway, that's what, after that experience, is why she became a midwife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but it's amazing. Like, for instance, they want to do a cesarean. They want to take the umbilical cord, of course, immediately, because it's filled with extremely valuable stuff,
Cord
right?
blood.
And the placenta, right? Yeah. And
Michael, that was the first inkling. This was before I started my show. This was before I was political. And I went into my obstetrician with my second pregnancy, and somehow I realized that they stole my child's cord blood. And I remember saying to her, you can't have what, you can't take that. And she explained to me that by law, they take every baby's cord blood in New York State, every single baby. And I don't know what they do with it. They say they bank it. I'm not sure. But I actually had a little battle with them. I tried to keep it and I failed. That was the first inkling that I had that something was
what
very
year was
wrong.
that?
That was it would have been 2008.
That's
2008.
that's true crime. at the highest level. That blood is important for the baby. Very,
Yeah.
very. It's a third of
Cord
the
blood.
baby's blood, right? And this midwife speaks English. I bet she would come on
Mm.
your show if I
I would
asked
love
her.
to
You
talk
should
to
talk
her. I
because
would
you.
love to talk to her.
I want to hear women to women talk on this stuff, mother to
Yeah.
mother. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She talked for yesterday for almost 8 hours. Actually, we were with her all
Wow.
day into the night, right? And so,
Wow.
but the things that we're learning, we've talked with many midwives and doctors and whatnot, and it's true human farming,
Mm.
and they use the force of law to try to wipe out the midwives, right?
Mhm.
Now it's been going on for generations. It didn't start anytime soon. It started arguably 100 years ago, but here in Japan it started hardcore after World War II.
Right.
But in the United States, the medical empire taking over the United States started at least more than 100 years ago, and
Well,
well over 100 years ago.
and I think that is the purpose of, the psychological warfare, the cultural warfare, the destabilization, the economic warfare incoming. I think is to unsettle everything so that they can move us into this human farming system that really, it's even worse than slave labor, right? With slave labor, you had to go and work for the
Hmm.
slave owner, but you could go home. They didn't extract fluids and organs and things from your body. They didn't sell body parts on the open market, to my knowledge, in thousands of years ago. I mean, this is an even more wicked and dystopian. I don't know how many stories and how many people I have coming on hospital horror
Hmm.
stories where their loved ones are essentially on the market for organ harvesting, and so they are essentially they're murdered in hospitals via protocol, and the organs are taken and trafficked. I don't know how else you can describe it. So it's very dark. It's very dark. I think that's the end game. At this point, people can take steps like you and I to stay out of that system, to stay out of the medical industrial complex, but they certainly want to keep that infrastructure in place. They're fighting for it right now. And I think that's why things are getting really, really crazy. Michael, the headlines are insane. I watched 1984 with my son yesterday, the 1986 version of it. I've actually read Orwell's 1984 twice. It was the first time I watched a movie about that, and it just screamed at me in regards to what is happening today with the endless war, Eurasia and Oceania. They were at war, there's a peace. They're at war, there's a peace. The constant barrage of senseless propaganda and lies about the economy. Your chocolate rations are increasing. The output is up by 100% when everyone is obviously destitute and living in extreme poverty. Up is down, left is right. The desperate attempt by governing organizations to drive people insane with the gaslighting, the obvious lie telling,
Hmm.
and turning it into a truth. It feels like everything we're seeing today, when Trump gets up and tells us that the war is over, then it starts again. Then it's over, it starts again. Gaslighting people about our economy when people are going to the grocery store and they can see that their groceries are 30, 40, 50% more than they were a year ago. It is maddening. It's maddening. And I think it's on purpose. My first question: is the American government at war with its own people? Is this on purpose in your estimation? And what do you make of what we're grappling with today with this administration?
Oh, clearly at war with us. Clearly, I mean, look, they're pushing death jabs still,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just one thing. At war with our food supply. Look at the screw worms. Look at the knocking farmers off of their fields. Look at so many things. It's a massive amount of attacks that are unfolding. Boys are girls, girls are boys, that sort of thing. It's an endless list. It's full spectrum war. Every weapon that can be brought to bear, and intoxicants. Like for instance, Trump pushes dope. He's a casino guy too. But he pushes
Gambling.
dope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just up in Las Vegas because G. Edward Griffin invited me to go speak at Red Pill, so I actually flew in from Japan to do it.
Oh,
And so,
I would too.
Yeah, I had several, like 5 or maybe 7 lunches and dinners and breakfast with him. I mean, him and his wife, it's amazing.
Mm,
But we're staying in a hotel that was actually owned by one of Trump's buddies. But I mean, but the point is Trump is all about, he's a gangster, and he's just a straight up gangster. That's the bottom line. And he always has been. Newt Gingrich called me up before the first election trying to get support for Trump, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to vote for a Clinton, obviously. But
mm,
you got to have somebody better. Now, back then, I still didn't realize how serious, how gone this was. I didn't
right,
realize how intense this was. But then we fade into, that was about 2016, right? Something like that,
right,
2015,
right.
2016. Then we get into 2020, and that starts to be a phase change, especially by 2021. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're going to have to, I, we're going to start at scratch here. I don't believe anything that's ever come out of the government at this point,
Right.
right?
We're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
Michael, do you think that Donald Trump is the gangster in chief? Like he's the guy, or how much agency do you think he has? And if he is not of agency, if he is acting as a puppet, albeit a very powerful and gangster like puppet, who is behind him? Who do you think is pulling the strings?
Uh, I mean, he's a Zionist. I mean, he's a puppet as well. I mean, he's a condom. I say that all the time because that's what he is. He's irrelevant at the end of the day. He's disposable and he's
Yeah.
irrelevant. And he actually doesn't matter at all. He's just something that'll be used and disposed of. And
Hmm.
so, uh, likewise with Kennedy. Kennedy's is nothing, right? And they are clearly Zionists, by the way. Look, Mayakovsky is the one in Argentina, and the one in Tel Aviv. Netanyahu, his name was Mayakovsky. The
Hmm.
name was changed. And
Wow.
Melee down in Argentina, Mayakovsky as well. I mean, the Zionists are taking Argentina as well, right? I went down
Mhm.
there, Masako and I went down there about a year and a half ago, and we looked. But in any case, what are Zionists? That's important. Definitions. It's good to start with. It's very important to
Yes.
start with
Yeah,
definitions.
let's pause you because let's talk about Zionism. This is a great segue. I pushed out yesterday on Twitter a clip of myself saying that essentially Zionism is a political agenda wrapped up in a religion, anti-God, anti-human. And I got a lot of pushback. I was called an anti-Semite. I was told that I hate Jews. I was told that I hate Israel. And I was also told that I don't understand what Zionism really is. I was told, Michael, that Zionism is simply the idea and belief that Israel should be allowed to exist. So that was what was hammered. I got hammered, by the way, on Twitter
But
yesterday.
those
We're
are
talking
actual
that way.
Zionists. That's Zionist talking points.
Yeah.
So that those accounts or those people, that those are actual. They are the enemy. We don't
Right.
give a crap what they say. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
let's go. Let's
They
start
are
with
the
that. Yeah.
actual enemy.
Let's start with that definition. You said, let's define what
Right.
Zionism is because I was
Right.
told I didn't know. I was told I didn't get it. Go ahead.
Zionism was created to take Palestine. It was created in the 1800s, right? In fact, I got a whole section of my library about it, and
Mhm.
an immense section. In fact, this book was written by Mayakovsky's father. This is Benzion Netanyahu, was written by his father, right? Benzion.
Wow.
This is a book about the origins of the Inquisition in Spain in the 15th century. So anyway, that's Mayakovsky. That's his dad. Anyway, he went to Palestine in the 1920s. It wasn't Israel yet, right? So so why was there such effort to take Palestine? Suez Canal opened, right? The Suez Canal opened in 1869. The French finished it, right? That became increasingly important. It was the spinal cord of the British Empire. That's what some of the English actually said. This
Mhm.
is so important. We can grow the empire greatly with it, and it can break our back, right?
Right.
And so there was a huge effort to take uh, to take control of Palestine. In fact, I got one book here from 1857. A British Navy officer was doing a reconnaissance about building a canal through Palestine, and they call it the Dead Med Red. So the Med Dead Red, from the Med to the Dead Sea to the Red Sea, right? And
Wow.
anyway, it was a canal, and actually, I've got a map of it that is from 1857. That was before the Suez Canal opened in 1869. Anyway, the but it became very important. So over time, by the way, I studied cults quite a lot. I studied cults for roughly 3.5 years full time before I went to the wars.
Mm-hmm.
After 9/11, I sort of stopped what I was doing and started studying cults. And I actually infiltrated and lived with a cult. I read stacks and stacks of books on cults and tracked them 6 times around the world during that 3.5 years. I was in France and Hawaii, California, India, Nepal, Thailand. I was all over. I studied the cults. And then I went to the wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
After 9/11, I started studying the cults more intensely, right? And so I know a little bit about cults. I know, for instance, that the only cult people never see is the one that they're in, right? And I realized too that cults are custom made, often like cutting a key. If there's something you want to get done, you can make a cult to help get that done. Keep in
Wow.
mind, every war that you've ever heard of is about one of 3 things. Now, Brett Weinstein's always disagreeing with me with this, and it was the other day on some show. But I mean, but the point is he thinks it's all about game theory, which I think is false. And
What does he
but
mean by
anyway,
game theory? What does he mean by game theory?
oh, that's a whole different subject. It better
Okay,
be
that's
better
not,
to get
that's,
Brett on
yeah,
about that.
yeah, go
But
ahead.
game theory is a mathematical theory. Anyway, it's very important stuff. But actually,
Okay.
but it's a whole subject. But every war that I've ever studied comes down to 3 things. At least one of these 3 things, sometimes all 3: routes, resources, and ideology. Routes, resources, and ideology. RRI. And the ideological part is about human resources, right? So when you need human resources to say, take Palestine, you can make a cult to do that. Doing this is normal. To create a cult to do something, that's day to day business for some people, right? I
Some
mean,
people just call it PR, public
right.
relations or propaganda. Bernays would probably understand that. Go ahead.
It's very closely related. Very.
Yeah.
I mean, it overlaps on the Venn diagram like a huge amount, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but the but so cult making. Yeah, I've been joking with Masako. We need to start an anti-cult cult, right?
I'll join. Can I be
Yeah,
the president of your anti-cult cult?
right. We're
The
all about
ACC?
anti-cults. I wear this hat, and we don't eat meat on Fridays.
I need some merch.
Yeah,
The ACC, the anti-cult cult. Let's go.
there you go. I like it, ACC. So anyway, so let me get a sip of water.
Go ahead.
All right, it's the water sipping cult. So, but the but cults are custom made on a
Mhm.
frequent basis, and keep in mind, cults sometimes it's just one person is in the cult, literally one person. Jokingly, I think that a single person cult would be a narcissist, but sometimes there's a person that has one other person in a cult, right? I
Right.
mean, there are single person cults. For instance,
Crazy.
if you wanted to make a let's say you're CIA or Mossad or something, and you wanted to have somebody do a school shooting, right? You could get that one person into a little cult of its own, of his own or her own, and do it, right? Get them on drugs, of course, and that
You
sort of
know,
thing.
to pause you for a moment, I didn't believe that that kind of mind control was possible. I didn't believe that that could actually be achieved until I lived through the lockdowns of COVID-19 and in 2020. And I really saw people's minds become so twisted and turned through trauma-based mind control and a pummeling of propaganda and a destabilization. I mean, I understand that much clearer now. Not only do I think that you can achieve mind control in individuals, but I think they've also learned how to achieve mind control of the masses to a certain extent, which I think they deployed in earnest for the very first time in 2020 when we could really see it. And I think they continue to try to do that through all kinds of techniques, controlled opposition, limited hangouts, repetition, using the false media of left and right, using mass media, movie making, video games, all of the things. I think that it's quite sophisticated, but I don't disagree with you that the ability there to break people's minds, and you've always recommended Rape of the Mind. I recommend that as well. If you guys want to understand, it's a book and that you recommended on the show quite some time ago that explains in detail how a mind is broken. And this even dovetails to what I watched yesterday with my son in 1984. It is possible. We have to guard our souls and we have to guard our minds very carefully because as I mentioned, it's highly sophisticated. But so I understand what you're saying about the cult. I believe that this Zionist movement is a cult-like movement.
It is
And
a cult. It's not cult like, it is a cult, right?
but
With
can you
different
define it?
components,
Right.
right?
Can you define it further? So you say the purpose of the Zionist movement in the cult that was formed in the 1930s, you said
No, and
1940s?
it was in the 1800s.
In the 1800s, the purpose was to justify the seizure and takeover of the Suez Canal because that represented a power source. And so they built this narrative, you say, about that area being a homeland for the Jewish people and the Jewish population, and that's how they justified the seizure of Palestine. Or do you want to go into that a little bit more, because it's interesting? I haven't heard this telling of the history before.
Right. And so when, again, there are cults that are tiny, it's just like one person, or there's local or whatever. But then there's nation state size cults, right? That are actually like, it takes a nation state to build the Panama Canal. This is a cult that's bigger than the Panama Canal, right? I mean, it's a massive cult, and it has many components. So when you're designing this cult, you need to appeal to, for instance, American Christians, because that's going to be the big base. Schofield Bible is an example, which I have right over here. And I've got a very old Schofield Bible with the leather cover falling off. But I mean, so that there's one example of getting Christians involved. Actually, most Zionists are Christian Zionists. That's how I was actually raised, right? Then you've got Jewish Zionists. Then you've got, but the people that have pushed the hardest against Zionism have been Jews by far, right? And Zionists and Jews have been killing each other since day one, right? Einstein stood up against Zionists, right? Look at his 1948, I think 48 letter, maybe 47. You can find it online in like 10 seconds, right?
Wow.
And so and he's standing up against Zionists, but so there's atheist Zionists who still magically think God promised that land, and then there's Muslim Zionists. Right? Like a lot of the Kurds are Zionists, and they're mostly Sunni Muslim. I've been out with Kurds quite a lot. But so there's different components. On the pie chart, most of the Zionists are Christian Zionists. They're useful idiots, right?
Is there a place where I can go to find the Zionist manifesto or the Zionist club and look at the hierarchy? Like, who is the leader?
In my library, which I got a massive section on it.
Well, let's try to boil it down, though, because it can't be massive. We want people to understand like the basic tenets and the infrastructure. Do you get a card when you become a Zionist? Do you join the Zionist agenda the way you join the Republican Party or the Democrat Party? Is it a little more secret? Is it I'm trying to understand, is this like Knights of Columbus or the Freemasons? Is it a secret club? Is it overt? Is there a Zionist website right now that I could go to and say, because everyone's telling me all the people who are defending Zionism are telling me I don't understand what Zionism is. You're giving me a definition of it, but what is their definition of it? Like, where is the thing, the document, the tenets, the belief system, the morals and the values? Like, does that even exist today? Not in old books and in old histories.
A cult like this, it's a massive cult. It was made at nation state level, right? Okay. Started by the British, and then we got involved, the United States, right?
Okay.
And so, it's very deeply backed, right? Okay. And so, actually, if you want to talk with a rabbi, I can find one for you easily that would come on. And and a lot of these Jewish people that I know are incredibly anti-Zionist, and others are very pro. Actually, you can find newspaper articles from World War II, like Jewish partisans killing Zionists and Zionists killing Judas. I mean, the Zionists were the ones working with Nazis. The Nazis didn't want to kill the Jews. The Nazis just wanted them to go to Palestine, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't care if they went to Palestine. They just wanted them to leave, right? But it was the Zionists that started doing huge terrorism against Jews to try to force them to move, because a lot of Jews did not want to leave Hungary. They didn't want to leave Russia. They didn't want to leave Germany, especially not Germany. That was where they were most successful. They didn't want to leave Germany. They wanted to stay there because they were successful business. They were in the army. They were in the German army. You know what I mean? They were officers. So
this sounds like, let me just hear you. So this sounds like an organized attempt to terrorize a population of people, to create a victim class so that they could then move them into an area to cover up the real agenda, which is to control the Suez Canal. So they created this victimized population. I've heard this story so many times. When they try to isolate women and create a victimized population of women in order to push an agenda, or blacks, or immigrants, or a migrant population, or even maybe a Palestinian population, right? Like the creation of the victim in order to use that victim as a shield to push in to a larger political agenda. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal
Right.
because professional victims are always predators, right? So they create professional victim class. It's very intense.
Right.
And now keep in mind, the Zionists today are not the Zionists of even 50 years ago. Now they're expanding. Now they're going for Argentina. They're going for Panama. They're going for parts of Thailand like Koh Samui, Koh Tao, Koh Phangan, Pai. They're going for these places. Now some Thais already see it. Actually, they're going for all the many different places. It's global, right? It's not. So they're fighting Chinese Communist Party in a very. We don't have enough time to go into this, but I could go into this for weeks. Actually, you know what I mean? I could teach a university course. This is all I do. But Misako and I travel around the world, and we go to these places like Argentina and Panama, and we spent a year in Panama, right, looking at
Michael,
this.
I would give you my platform if you ever wanted to do a 101, 102, or some type of deep dive. I would hand my platform to you. You could have the network and do that if it's something that you think is important, because I think that would be really cool. So that's
I could get a star-studded group of people here, like rabbis and everything else, and go through it from different angles.
Yeah.
And I think, be careful, because I'll take you up on that.
Well, no, I would love to do that because I want to understand this. Okay. Now, on the other side of the equation, I also believe, whether or not you agreed with the creation of Israel, whether or not, we could go back and we could litigate that, right? We can argue about whether or not it was justified, whether or not it was necessary, what happened there. But at this point in time, I am of the mindset, first of all, being a Christian, I love the Old Testament. I love the Jewish heritage and Jewish scripture, right? I also believe that I would never, ever, castigate an entire group of people. I see many people out there who might agree with what we're saying right now, take it a step further and use that to level vile, horrifying, terrible, disgusting slander and slurs against all Jews, which I hate, right? This is why I avoid these conversations sometimes, Michael, because I don't make anyone happy, right? There is a whole subset of people who are vicious and vile and want to demonize an entire culture, race, or class of people and lump all of them in this Zionist movement, which really bothers me. But so what do you say? Like, how do I navigate that? Because I do believe that there should be peace in the Middle East, and Israel should be able to exist alongside Palestine. As of today, I think Israel has committed genocide. So now we have an equivalency in the hostilities and the killing. But like, how do you navigate that? Because I don't believe that we should wipe the Jews off them. Like one of the comments I got yesterday on my
Zionism isn't Judaism, and
right.
the core Jews will tell you that all the time. They'll tell you that they'll say, stop conflating Zionism with Judaism, and people like Einstein and others way before Einstein were warning about this. Like the Zionists hide behind Judaism. That's their shield. Oh, you can't come after me. You're going after Jews. Yada, yada, yada. And then they throw the anti-Semite thing, which is funny. A bunch of white guys from Ukraine and Hungary and Poland and Russia are going, oh, you're anti-Semite. What Semitic language do you speak, Russian guy? You know what I mean? What I mean? I said that to some Zionists recently on a private chat. They were going after me with that. I'm like, you're just a white boy. And I was saying that. You're a white boy. You're really rich. You're always bragging about how rich you are. You're so rich. You're just a white boy throwing the anti-Semitism card every time somebody says, that's genocide. What you're doing in Gaza is genocide, and you're joking about it. One of them was joking on the private chat that he's going to be rubbing suntan lotion on his skin at the Trump Tower in Gaza. I'm like, you're pathetic. You're sickening. You're a murderer. And you're hiding behind anti-Semitic, and it doesn't work anymore. Your magic wand is broken. Nobody cares. It doesn't work. And you're going to go, magic spell, Harry Potter, anti-Semite. We're like, get out of here, punk. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. People are fed up with it. It doesn't work. And it doesn't work. We see through it. And at this point, Israel will be lucky to survive, actually. Very lucky.
What do you think the extent of the damage and the killing in Gaza? Again,
genocide.
This is and let me kind of explain to you where, as a political commentator sitting in Rochester, New York, who does not speak the language, I don't know the layered detail history of everything that went down in the Middle East. I know that there's a massive amount of money and propaganda and resource behind AIPAC and the pro-Zionist movement. But I also know that there's a lot of money and resource and perhaps propaganda behind the pro-Palestinian movement, right? There could be agendas there as well. And I've had a difficult time just observing, knowing what is real and what isn't real, what is real killing, what is or what is propaganda. And so that has put me in a position where I just haven't felt comfortable diving into this. But as I have begun to look into it a little more and look into resources, and I'm beginning to find independent war correspondents and journalists. You're a photographer, a journalist, and a war correspondent. You have a lot of experience on the battlefield and in discerning if a war is happening or not happening, right? I mean, because we're grappling with a kind of war in Ukraine, a kind of war in Iran. Like, it's hard to even know what is real when it's coming over screens. So in terms of what is happening in Gaza, when you look at the razing, for me, the final straw that broke the camel's back were the images of the utter razing. Like, it looks like a nuclear bomb hit that region. I mean, everything absolutely decimated. And it was then that I thought, this is bad. This is really bad. But you have a lot more expertise in this. Like, what, to the extent of the destruction of human life, resources, and the geographic area of Palestine and Gaza, how would you describe the devastation? You said genocide, but I'd like you to elaborate.
Oh, it's clear genocide. It's a land clearance operation. That's all it is. That's why the Zionist cult was even designed. The Zionist cult was made as a genocidal cult. It's a death cult, right? And it was made to do that. It was made for a purpose. And again, this is nothing new. And I mean, this is an old game. Routes, resources, and ideology. And you can create the ideology that you need, like a key into a door, right? And so now they're being genocided. But keep in mind, on October 7th, that was clearly set up by the Israelis. That was obvious, let's say by the Zionists, right? And keep in mind, by the way, the Zionists are targeting Israelis too, right? They kill Jews with reckless abandon. They don't care about Jews. They'll kill every Jew on the planet. I'm talking about Zionists will do that, right? Mm-hmm. And every Christian, especially the useful idiots that they don't respect, right? Mm-hmm. They will kill them all. The Zionist is a death cult, right? They're very similar to that cult of Agoris that I tracked and studied in India and other places. They're very similar to that. They believe that there's nothing off limits. There's no rules at all. You should intentionally seek to do terrible stuff. Agor means not terrible or not terrific in Sanskrit language, right? That's what it means, actually, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the way that the Zionists, such as at Epstein Island, that class, that core class, mm-hmm. the way that they do it, they are no rules. They'll do absolutely anything. The only law they have to play by is physics, right? Like gravity and fire and that sort of thing. But otherwise, they want exactly what those Agoris that I studied want. They want what the Agoris call it moksha, which is release, just totally released from birth, death cycle. They want complete power over the universe. They want power over the universe.
Are the Zionists, who would be the highest profile Zionists on the
highest profile?
Yeah.
Well, that we see in the news all the time, maybe Netanyahu or Trump, right? But Trump is Netanyahu is more core. Trump's just a pretty boy. Trump
Right.
was born very, very wealthy. He's always been a scumbag. He's been a scumbag since day one. And
He'd be
again,
anything.
when
He'd
Newt
be anything,
Gingrich,
right?
what's that?
He'd be anything, right? He'd be a Zionist, he'd be a
Right.
Republican, he'll be a Democrat. There's no core value system there. He will just be whatever everyone wants him to be in order to work the best deal for him and his
He's
family. I get
perfect.
that
He's
sense.
pliable. He's
Yeah.
pliable. He's a
Yeah.
nothing, right? And the thing is, when Gingrich called me up before the first election trying to get support, keep in mind when you're looking at people, you can see people that are very much like you. They're very obvious, and you
Mhm.
can see people who are opposite of you because they're very obvious as well. In between can get hard to tell. But Trump is my opposite. I can see him. I can see like his X-ray up on the X-ray board. I can see his bones practically, right? I can see right through that guy. That's how I've been so able to predict his move. I just go, what would I do? And I pick the opposite. That's what he does. We're
Right.
actually like the opposite personality. We're like in complete north-south pole, right?
Really
And
interesting.
so, and that's when I saw him. I was like, that guy's a traitor. I've said it thousands of times. He's a born traitor. Trump is, right? Cowards are natural traitors. All cowards are traitors. He is deeply cowardly. He's
Yeah.
he's the cowardly lion. He's orange like the lion.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why he abuses helpless and weak people. That's why he grabs them by the you know what. That's why he's cheated on every wife he's ever had. That he's an abuser. He is an abuser, and I think perhaps a sadist and a narcissistic sociopath as well could be one of those things. But and he's in charge today. All right. So it seems, I mean, at least the broad definition, and you do get this sense that there is an organizational structure. I, I I saw it, Michael, when I went to Kentucky to stand up with Thomas Massey against this machine, right? It was APAC. I think you could look to APAC. That would be an example of an organizational structure with money and agenda items and spokespeople and that type of thing. Because they tend to be in the shadows a little bit more. I think they're kind of poking their heads out a little bit now as things are heating up. But you know, I think that's one of the biggest difficulties right now is that I don't think anyone can agree on what Zionism is. The people that are defending it, that are talking to me, are saying it is just simply one thing: Israel has the right to exist. I can see clearly that's false. Even if they don't
that's obviously
admit it,
false.
I think it's obviously and clearly false. If it was just about Israel existing, they would have all of their defensive mechanisms up. They would not have taken down all of their defenses on October 7th and allowed the terrorists to come in and wreak havoc on the people of Israel. So there are a lot of things there that don't make sense to that. And I don't want to spend the whole show on this. We've kind of dovetailed. I think it's a valuable conversation, though. But I do have to go to commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about other news of the day: what's happening in Iran, potential famine, a military draft, the merger of the United States military with the IDF, which is crazy. All right, and all of those things. But any last thoughts on what people need to understand, or resources that people can access to begin to understand what this is? I will say before you go, there was a very good interview between Tucker Carlson and a fellow named J.D. Hall, who I believe is a theologian. And whether you like them or hate them, this or that, I don't really care. The conversation was interesting, and it was fact based, and it went into the history, the atheistic underpinnings of the Zionist movement. The founder was an atheist, and a pretty bad dude. And so that was it was 2 hour interview, did a lot of justice, and it furthered my understanding. But any last words on this topic and where people can go?
Did they talk about Theodore Herzl in that interview? Do you recall?
Was he British?
No, Hungarian, right? And
Okay, I don't know.
and anyway, he's like actually during the break I'm going to go get something downstairs and I'll show you
Okay.
in regard to him. But anyway, yeah, on my Substack you can find a lot more. I'm constantly on my Substack, and actually I accurately predicted that Strait of Hormuz would be closed in the way that it is, and I
Yeah.
predicted that way back in July of 2025. It was obvious, actually.
You did.
Uh,
You did.
and
Okay.
that there's not going to be any peace, by the way. That's not part of the agenda.
Well, at least not in the short term for sure.
Yeah.
Michael Yon has an amazing Substack. It is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. It is the first link in show notes. So scroll down in the description. Make sure that you are signing up, supporting Michael Yon. He's going to be a new dad, right? He's got a baby coming in just about 7 weeks?
Yes.
So let's like pray for Michael and his beautiful wife and their beautiful baby. Send them lots of love and sign up. I mean, that's how he supports himself, is through that Substack. So it's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. When we come back, we're going to look at some other topics. Make sure, I want to see you on those live chats, questions, comments. There are a lot of caps, of all caps. People have a lot to say on all of this, but we'll continue this conversation in just a second. All right, Michael?
Okay.
All right. You got about 5 minutes. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to be checking out the live stream on YouTube, the live stream on Twitter. Lots of comments coming in. Big audience on YouTube today. I want to hear from all of you. Yes, let's just cover them in prayers. This beautiful baby is coming, and it's just so exciting. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, again, about 4 or 5 minutes. So as I would always ask you, please consider our advertisers. They're amazing. They keep the lights on here on the Shannon Joy Show. And so if you're in the market for any of their goods or services or products, it helps to keep the Shannon Joy Show on the air. So we'll be back in a minute to continue this discussion on the SJ Show. Folks over at the satellite phone store as well, sat123.com/joy. JOY gets you 15% off every time you shop. Anything and everything you need for the end of the world, the zombie apocalypse, alien invasion. They've got generators. They've got satellite phones. They have satellite phone packages. They have Faraday bags and beanies and protective devices. They have solar panels, generators, anything you need. They have it at the satellite phone store, and they've been amazing sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show for the past 2 years. They're unbelievable. Sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. JOY promo code gets you 10% off all the time on everything. The Bank of Japan and the Federal Reserve just flinched, signaling that gold and silver are the only hedge left for wealth protection. This is the topic of a brilliant zero hedge piece, which I recently reviewed in a Substack article, which is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. Something big just happened in the markets, and it could change everything. Japan's yen has collapsed to its weakest level against the dollar in 4 decades. After years of printing money and keeping rates near zero, the cheap funding that fueled the famous yen carry trade is drying up. Japanese investors and global funds are now selling U.S. stocks and bonds to bring that money home. Both stocks and bonds are getting hit at the same time, and yields are climbing. So here in the United States, newly appointed Fed Chair Kevin Warsh tried to hold the line and talk about resilience. The markets weren't buying it. The Dow dropped hard, longer-term yields jumped, and Warsh himself admitted that the bond market is starting to set higher rates because people no longer fully trust the government IOUs. With nearly 40 trillion in national debt and 3 billion a day going to just the interest payments, higher borrowing costs leave only one real option: more money printing, more debasement of the dollar. And that's exactly why physical gold and silver are so important right now. While paper assets get squeezed by rising yields and fading confidence, precious metals quietly protect the purchasing power families have worked so hard to build. Now is the time to consider physical gold and silver as a critical hedge. The Shannon Joy Show sponsor and regular contributor, Peter Schiff, has been warning about this debt imprint path for years. He's been clear, he's been consistent, and I highly recommend his team if you have questions about metals. Visit shiftgold.com/joy for competitively priced physical gold and silver, live support for information on gold-backed IRAs, and tons of resources on these emerging markets. Do not wait for the next wave of debasement. Lock in now and make sure you tell them that Shannon Joy sent you. Shiftgold.com/joy. That is shiftgold.com/joy. All right, everyone, do me a favor right now. Go grab your lotion. If you're a lady, it's probably the fancy schmancy stuff you paid way too much for off an ad on Facebook. I know, I've been there. I've been there. Anyway, go ahead and read the label out loud. Can't pronounce the ingredients? Well, neither could I. And that's not skincare. That's a chemistry experiment in a bottle that we're slathering on our skin every single day. Well, North Idaho Tallow Company fixed all that. One ingredient that you actually know, grass-fed tallow. No lab list, no guesswork, handmade, small batched by a mom in North Idaho who refused to put that garbage on her own kids. So why would we? Here's the challenge. Throw out that mystery bottle and replace it with the Idaho Tallow Soap, Scrub, and Soothe bundle. This is created exclusively for the Joy audience. It's only $29 and it's going to change your skin. Go to idahotallow.com/joy to open up that $29 discount soap, scrub, and soothe bundle, or grab the promo code JOY and use it anywhere on the site for an additional 15% off the regular store. idahotallow.com/joy. That's idahotallow.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. If you want to take a look, I have it right here. Do you see the Idaho Tallow? So good. This is the soap. I absolutely love it. I use the soap and the scrub and the balm every single day. I absolutely love it. Again, big discounts, 15% off everything every time you use that JOY promo code at idahotallow.com/joy. So let's hit the YouTube live chat. We have a lot of fans watching today. It's great to see you. Night Watch N8. Great guest, Shannon. Michael Yon is a longtime friend of mine. Amazing. Deep Water One is with us on the live chat. Great to see you as well. We have a couple other people watching on the live chat. Hey, Take Creation Studios. Great to see you. A lot of new faces. Love seeing people commenting on those live chats. Lots of people tuning in today. Johnny Utah 1861. Happy Tuesday from Missouri. Love that so much. We have a lot of people on the Rumble live chat as well. If you're watching right now, smash the thumbs up button, share the Shannon Joy Show, join the live chat, join the comments. It's great to see all of you. LT Oracle of Truth, thanks for being with us on the Rumble live chat. Podcasters, go on Jones Plantation to pick up subscribers from his huge platform. Love that. Grinchy1, great to see you on the live chat today on Rumble. Hells Bay, great to see you as well. We have Bye with us. Buskman, great to see you. Rothen Walker is joining us today. Hey, Tara Preda Wild. Orwell, 1984, endless wars are the plan. Constant instability. And I don't disagree with you at all. I think that is the plan. So here's a great question. I want to find this here we are. Where are we? I'm going to bring Michael Yon back in on the SJ show. And there was a really good question that I think can kick off the second half of this discussion. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Michael Yon. Make sure you follow him on Substack. And this was the question. This is a great question, Michael. It's from, I want to give credit where credit is due, but I can't find the question. Is it D-Nice 113? So they said, listen, Michael Yon, expecting a baby, bringing a baby into this world amidst all of this, right? Everything we're talking about, it's chaotic, it's terrifying, it's dark in some respect. It's overwhelming to so many people, yet it signifies that you still have hope. And that's what she mentioned on the live chat. She said, Michael Yon must have hope. There must be hope there. if he's bringing a baby into this world. And I have hope. People think that I'm hopeless, or I'm a black pillar, or I'm always negative Nancy or Debbie Downer about everything. But I have an enormous amount of hope as to what we can do to battle this and secure freedom for at least another period of time. Let's start there with you. Let's start with the hope that you must have bringing this child into this world.
Yeah, very much. I have hope, and you might think, despite the things that I study, that I would be, unhappy and that sort of thing. But weirdly, Masako and I are very happy and very hopeful, and we've been buying. I've been actually buying old mathematic books from the 1880s and 70s, and I don't like to go beyond about 1890. So, and Masako's getting other components. So I'm actually designing the curriculum for Baby Bear.
Oh my gosh,
and
it's going to be brilliant. Oh my goodness.
When baby's crawling on the ground, it's going to be a map. It's like,
I love
meet
it.
me in Alaska for lunch.
I love it. I love it. But what gives you hope?
We're on a mission, and I know where I'm going when it's over. I sleep at night. I didn't compromise. I didn't sell out after so many offers and so many ways. I could have gotten on that bus so many times. So many people have actually used the same word numerous times. Key people. You have the keys to the kingdom. That's the exact words. I'm like, I don't want. That's not a kingdom I want to be in. It's like,
No,
no
sir.
way, no way.
No,
And so, I mean, you see so many people that have sold their souls, like Doper Joe Rogan. I mean, he shills dope to millions of young people, and so does Rocket.
I don't like that.
No, so does Rocket Boy, and they're both doing it. They're both.
Who's Rocket Boy?
Elon Musk,
Yeah.
the alleged rocket expert, the guy that pushed the jab, so he's not smart enough to get, he said he had to take the jab to go visit his gigafactory in Germany, right? I'm like, hello, Masako and I were in Germany at the same time. We were all over Europe multiple times. We never took the jab, but Rocket Boy, who wants to put brain chips in us, couldn't figure out how to get to his $1 billion gigafactory without taking the jab. I'm sorry. You're either not that guy or you're lying, right? Or both.
It's true.
And I mean, just imagine you have $1 billion factory in a country and they're like telling you got to take the jab. I'd be like this. Look, I'm going to be landing on Monday morning. You see the manifest and all that. And if I'm detained at all, I'm closing the factory right then. It'll be closed. It will be closed at 8:01, right?
Michael, do you know how many millions of Americans got fake vaccine cards? I mean, it was not that difficult either. You know what I mean? Like, come on. He's the richest guy in the world. And
he's not that guy. He's fake. He's a fake. He's just a dope head. And he's a dope head like Joe Rogan. And,
let's talk about those. Let's talk about those fake power people. Trump, Elon, Peter Thiel, Netanyahu, right? All the front-facing Western leaders, Trudeau, right? That pose as democratically elected leaders. Mm-hmm. Everyone understands at this point that there is a structure, there's a power structure behind them. No one can agree on what that power structure is or who they are. You have some people talking about this Zionist political movement, this agenda. It's a global domination agenda, but there are other players as well, right? There are Russians and Chinese, there are historical families, there are oligarchical structures, there's the UN, the World Health Organization, all of these people. And I tend to think, Michael, that none of them really agree. I think they're all jostling. They have a lot of money, a lot of power, a very sophisticated infrastructure, and I think they all see the brass ring. They're like, we can do this because of technology and surveillance and the data centers and AI. We can finally do this. We can achieve global, worldwide domination and own everything. And I get the sense, this is just my hunch, because I don't get to sit down at their meetings. So I'm not privy, Michael, to their secret meetings or whatever they do behind closed doors or in the basements. I don't want to know. But it seems to me that they don't get on all that well, and they might be battling each other. And I think that I don't think there's this one monolithic evil empire. They probably all worship to Satan. But, what are your thoughts on the people behind the front-facing people? Who are they? Do you have an idea of the different groups, and how can people understand what their agendas are?
It is actually very difficult to understand the plumbing underneath.
Yeah.
And I think even they probably don't know. Even the people that are involved don't know, and won't know all the structures. Uh,
Interesting.
you know, one of the cult. I infiltrated a cult in California, and I had access to their stuff actually, and
Mm,
they actually uh, they had a diagram of how the cult was structured,
mm,
and it had like outer periphery, inner periphery, and then inner uh, outer core, inner core, and then
right.
core, right? So I
Kind
mean,
of like
but so
Scientology, kind of like the Scientologists, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah, they have an infrastructure.
right. So I mean, you're going to put you into so most people are going to be on the outer periphery, right?
Mm,
They're just supporters in some way or whatever, but they're not part of the core. They're not in those tiny meetings. And as Catherine Austin Fitts would say, the core will be just like a tiny group of people ultimately,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And then Masako and I stayed for more than a month with her actually in Netherlands. But the
She's going to be on with me next Monday. I'm
I
doing a
introduced
big.
you, didn't I?
You might
Yeah,
have. You
yeah.
might have. Yeah.
She's amazing, and she invited Misako and me over, and we flew over and stayed with her for more than a month, and got daily
Amazing.
briefings. It was amazing.
Yeah. She's
But
brilliant.
ask her about this. I mean, she
I
talks,
will.
and actually, who talks about it in more detail is G. Edward Griffin. I can introduce him as well.
Mm.
And
I
so,
My dream in the world is to have G. Edward Griffin on my show. I've reached out multiple times. I know his people, but I haven't been able to do it. So any help there, Michael, I would be forever grateful. Creature from Jekyll Island was a formative read for me. It was really the underpinning of a lot of my understanding of, and I read it, 12, 13 years ago, right before I started my show. So that would be amazing. But so he
I'll
understands
introduce
that.
tonight. Yeah.
You're the
Mhm.
best. But yeah, so go ahead.
Uh,
We really don't know. So they want to keep it secret. They want to keep it dark. They are
right.
clandestine. They hide behind shell corporations and nonprofits and NGOs, and it's highly complex. We kind of saw that with the Epstein files, didn't we?
That's
When
the
we,
mechanics. That's like the
yeah,
electrical system.
yeah,
But when it comes to the people, I mean, look at Maliakovsky down in Argentina, and Maliakovsky, Netanyahu. I mean, they have the same last name, and that's a coincidence, huh?
old
And
families. Yeah.
right, yeah, and
Here's
and
the thought. Can I posit this to you?
mhm.
I'm a Christian, right? And and believe in the Holy
But
Spirit.
this is one of the founders of Zionism, and he's an atheist. So there you go.
There you go.
Theodore Herzl.
Theodore
Right? I got a
Herzl.
bunch of books on him. Right?
Interesting. I would like to read
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
There are times, especially during COVID, where I have felt as if, with the Holy Spirit and within the movements that I've been involved in, um, sometimes you don't need to have a hierarchical structure to understand the Spirit, right? There's something driving you. It is love and hope and goodness and freedom and
Hmm.
nature and a submission to God, and it's beautiful. And you can see when that is driving a movement. I've also been adjacent to what I firmly believe were darker movements that had a very different spirit. And I don't want to get too metaphysical here or too woo woo, but I do believe sometimes the language of the spirit that drives your organization. And sometimes they don't even need to meet to understand that this is going to be agenda they'll get behind. And so do you believe like there's a light and a dark? I firmly do. I believe that that God created the universe. There is good, there is evil, and sometimes it doesn't even need to be spoken. Your thoughts?
Oh, clearly there's evil. I mean,
Yeah,
and quite clearly the Zionist cult is dark side,
it is dark.
hardcore dark side.
Yeah.
And a lot of the top leadership are clearly atheists, like Netanyahu. That guy's clearly atheist, right?
So
He
it's Trump.
plays like he's Jewish, and Trump is clearly atheist as well. I mean, these
Trump
basically
has
are,
Trump has stated that he is going to hell, and it is
has
flippant.
he
He has no
stated that, right?
out loud. Not that he's going to hell. He knows he is not going to heaven. He said it on an airplane. I'm not going to heaven.
Right.
So it's right there. you know?
Yeah, I doubt it. And I mean, I doubt that he would be. And he knows that. And in fact, he doesn't seem like a happy person to begin with. I mean, he's
No.
basically just a tool, and he knows he's a tool.
Yeah.
And but you know, he gets the little things that he wants, which is trivial stuff. I mean, actually, how much better does he actually live than just somebody who, I mean, how much better does he actually live? He lives a stress-filled life. You know, he's just an actor. He knows he's a pawn. You know,
Mhm.
he's smart enough to know that. Actually, he's not the
Mhm.
most brilliant guy. But in any case, not to go into that, but you know, they're going to push a draft, I think, because this war is, and we've reached the point where if you have young people in your life, we can't just say, hey, you're on your own. No, 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 no. We have to stand with them. The herd of elephants needs to surround the young, right? And the ones who are of draft age, we need to defend them, right?
Yes, we do.
It,
Yes, we
because
do.
yeah, because this is, they want to kill off our young people. They
Mhm.
want to kill them off. This is war slave. Look what's happening in Ukraine, dragging them off the streets. Look at you know, and giving them jabs now in the military. I mean, how would you like to be in a submarine with people that are taking the jab and you know, shedding in there and everything else? And what they're doing is wrong on all levels, morally, ethically, legally, but they're doing it because people go along with it. And when
Right.
it comes to the war slavery, I think that they'll have the draft. I've been saying this for a long time. I think they'll have the draft because that fits the larger schema of what they've been doing. And they'll kill off as many core Americans as possible, and then they'll stuff the uniforms with people who came through the southern border and Darien Gap and that sort of
Well,
Israelis, right?
can I pause you there for a minute? Because then that would make it much easier for the military to turn on American civilians domestically. It would be much more difficult for them to get Americans born and raised in America with families to turn on civilians in the interior of this country. But if they ship them all off to Iran to be crushed in the war machine in Iran and then bring in migrants and immigrants to replace them, they have no allegiance to the US. They have no heritage in the US. They probably don't have family in the US. And they could very easily go into towns and villages and just absolutely decimate human beings. And so, I can see that happening. Now, Michael, I was mocked and ridiculed by Trump supporters and MAGA last week. I put out an urgent warning, a video. I looked at the request for proposal that came from the Trump administration to tech companies. They want it by August, I believe, 16th. I think by the end of this week, the Trump administration demanded a proposal for simulation of a nationwide draft with the purposes of putting boots on the ground in Iran. And it was very specific. They want every aspect of that simulation to be in place, down to the notification of the young boy that he's going to be fed to the war machine, the notification of the parents, where he should report to, what to do with people who are conscientious objectors, what to do with people who don't show up for the screenings, what to do, like all of it, where they're going to hold them, where they're going to corral them, very specific in detail, absolutely chilling to the bone. A simulation, not the draft, but to me, what we learned from COVID-19 and Event 201 is that the simulation is often the precursor to the implementation. And I think that was a very, very serious warning signal that people are not taking seriously enough. Your thoughts on an incoming draft from this president going after our boys and potentially girls? Because remember, John McCain opened up the draft to all young American girls. So it could be 18-year-old girls that are wrapped up in this. Your thoughts?
I think they will draft women. There's a very high chance, and they're floating the balloon now to just get basically warming up the water for the frog, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the initial idea of the draft will settle in, and it'll go to the background, but it'll be part of your consciousness, and then they'll just keep up in the thing, and before you know it, they'll say, well, you don't have to draft, you don't have to answer the draft. You can, these migrants, quote unquote, that came in can go for you, right? And then many Americans will go, okay, let the Haitians that don't speak any English go in, that, you know,
They'll fall
or
for it.
whoever, right? And then eventually, though, they'll clearly force people into the draft, right? I mean, because the idea is to kill him off. That's obvious. This is an old game. None of this is new, by the way. You know how my predictions are so accurate? I just read these books all night, and I just change the dates and the names. That's all.
Nothing new under the sun. That is Ecclesiastes, baby. That is King Solomon and all of his
Ecclesiastes.
wisdom. There
It
is
sounds
nothing new under the
brilliant. People are like, "How did you predict that?" I'm like, "I just changed that guy's name and changed the date." That's all. Nothing new under the sun.
This is what I told him. I'm like, just read the Old Testament. Read the Old Testament. Read it through. It's the same story over and over and over again.
That's right. That's it.
It was like,
Tale as old as time.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
think that the draft is imminent? Do you have any idea of a time frame? So this war is not ending, and they mean for it to be a meat grinder. Do you think that Iran is playing along with the Trump administration? Do you think they have backroom deals and negotiations, that this thing is already settled for them, but they're just going to move forward with the illusion of war so that we can justify the mass killing of our young people and the chaos and the money? Like, it's a billion gazillion dollar industry. And Michael, every time they continue with this destabilization that is resulting from the war, they are stripping an enormous amount of wealth from the American middle class and small and medium-sized businesses. So they are committing economic warfare against us at the same time as they're stripping wealth and making us more and more vulnerable. So from my perspective, Trump's getting rich, his cronies are getting rich. They're pumping and dumping all the way down. They're insider trading. They're making billions on military contracts. They're going to have to build a bunch of new war machines and replenish all of it. They're depleting the energy supply, which creates even more instability. And they're getting fat, happy, and rich. I don't see any incentive for anyone connected to this United States government, Democrat or Republican, in ending this war. They're all benefiting from it to the detriment of all of us. Your thoughts?
Right. I don't see any end coming in place. Now, whether or not top level Iranians are involved, that's on my mind every day. Same with the Russians.
Right.
Because there is some superstructure out there that's larger. And there has been for many centuries. Now, that superstructure seems to change over time. Like in the old days, in the 1494, the Treaty of Tordesillas between Portugal and Spain, the Pope brokered that, right? Because the Pope was the superstructure at that time, right?
Right.
So that was the clear, and I've got that Treaty of Tordesillas treaty in my next library room. Actually, it's a giant book though. I can't even hold it up; it's so big. But yeah, but it's got like and then the next treaty after that, the Treaty of Saragossa, roughly 30 years later, again the superstructure was the Pope deconflicting with the Spanish and the Portuguese, because the Pope was in a position to more rule the world if he could keep those guys from fighting each other, and keeping the Portuguese and the Spanish from fighting other parts of the world that were already, under the Pope's control, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the superstructure. But over time, more players have become more powerful, and so the game hasn't really changed much, but the players have.
Got it.
And the tools have changed.
So you don't discount the possibility that the Russians and the Ukraine, at least the leadership, they're kind of war gaming, playing war in the same way that the US and Iran were kind of playing war to a certain extent. The casualties are real. The human decimation is real. The war is real, but we're not getting the full picture. You don't discount that could be at play.
There's strong indications that it is at play. For instance, pipeline with Russian fuel going through Ukraine, not destroyed, or Turkey selling a great, even though the Zionists and Turkey may end up in war over the Turkish Strait, Dardanelles and Bosphorus, but Turkey's selling energy to Israel and has been, right? So I mean, there's things that don't, they don't jive completely. If you were really totally going toe to toe, there's certain things that have not happened, which is interesting, isn't it? Now it could be that Putin is part of the inner sanctum, right? He and just a few cronies, just a very small group, probably, if there is. It probably wouldn't be a lot of people.
Right. And everything falls apart if people stop lending their consent to the theater, to the kabuki theater, to the WWE wrestling. I think that's where we have our opportunity as the little people to push back. So I want to talk about that a little bit because it's so crazy to me. It seems as if the bad guys, the power structure or structures who have seemed to have taken control and injected a criminal element into all of our Western democracies and a lot of countries across the globe, see economic progress and money making only in the context of death and destruction and war and chaos and slavery. Death, destruction, war, chaos, slavery. Like that's the only way that they can see economic prosperity or a society existing. And then you have this other idea that you could have free markets and peace, like peace and prosperity and nature and happiness and thriving humans could also be an engine of economic prosperity. You can also have that and, you know, people creating things and building businesses and building communities and homes and gardens. Like there is this other idea that you could do good things, right? And that could be economically prosperous, right? So how do we battle them? Because this does seem to be a great battle, a battle that plays out throughout human history. But there have been times, Michael, in history where freedom actually did have a place where people were free. They were prosperous. And I know everyone says, this is what I like to, I want to fight against this. The bad guys always win. It's always been this way. We can never win. We can never do anything. Why do you even get involved? What is the point? Right? Like that's the true
bad guys saying that. That's the bad guys and putting that message in, right?
Right.
The people saying that are not the, you know, in the so-called MAGA, anybody that's still supporting Trump, I got no time for you. You know what I mean? It's like cuckoo. Exactly. Either cuckoo or Zionist or something, either an op or truly somewhat brain dead, actually. I mean,
think they were traumatized. Literally. I think they've been traumatized and propagandized to such an extent that they can't think rationally.
I mean, there's one side of me that has compassion for him because, you know, you can see, I mean, realizing the level. We were all born into a huge information war. Our grandparents were born into it, right? And their grandparents were born into it. So by the time we were born, we're multi layers deep, you know, into this. And it's hard to break out of it, right? And you never know if you've fully broken out of it. And so a lot of people, though, are, especially those who are deep into intoxicants of any sort, prescription intoxicants or alcohol or cannabis or any of that crap, they mix what I call ants, acoustic neurotoxin, which, you know, euphemistically called music, right? Music, the music that I grew up, you know, listening to and enjoying quite a lot. I look back at it now and I go, that's ants, acoustic neurotoxins, right? It's not music. It's an actual weapon. And when they can combine that weapon with intoxicants, whether that be alcohol or whatever, you can brainwash people easily, right? And so that's why you have dope heads like Joe Rogan will have a show and do dope and whatnot, or these, you know, bourbon with whatever that lawyer guy is that used to salivate over Trump, you know. So
I do like bourbon, though, Michael. Don't take my bourbon away from me, please. I'm just kidding.
But I mean, but the thing is they when they have the show and they've got you, you know, drinking or whatever, that's when it's easy to insert a message into your mind. That's the point, right?
It's true.
It disarms your alarms, basically, right? So you're, now that basically here's the disarming alarm, you know, is the alarm disarmer, is alcohol, cannabis, whatever, right? And it's very effective. And so the next thing you know, their message is in your mind. Now it looks like they're fighting back. Like Joe Rogan, what would his thing on the border would be, oh, whoa. Whoa, you know, he's a moron. You know what I mean? Whoa, you know, and so I mean, so these guys, but they're not men that are standing up. They're pushing drugs to children. Anybody that pushes drugs to children are pushers. They're pushers, just like they warned us about when we were like 4th grade. Be careful for pushers. And people that push pushers are pushers too, right?
Right.
Like pushing Joe Rogan is pushing, you know, you're pushing a pusher, right? And I use him as an example because he's such a large, you know, most people know who he is, right?
Right. No, They
And
control agendas for sure. Go ahead.
right. And so getting people on drugs of any sort, intoxicants, and the music and whatnot, you can get whatever message you want into a huge number of minds. You don't have to capture every mind. You just have to capture a critical mass. That's
Mhm.
all. You don't have to get everybody into the cult. Just a you don't have to get everybody to be a jab. Look at 1984. And the book, that you've read the book twice, you've watched the movie, and I have as well. I didn't read it twice; I read it once, but I watched the movie as well, and I read the book. And that's exactly what's unfolding right now. They didn't have to capture everybody. There's people in 1984. They're like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter because the fools around them, or I shouldn't say fools. They were born into, like us, very sophisticated brainwashing,
Yeah.
multi layers deep, right? And so we're basically like a gazelle that was born on the Serengeti, surrounded by hyenas and lions, right? So it's like, here it is, you're born, stand up, figure it out. You know what I
Figure it
mean?
out.
Follow mother. I mean,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, I love the resistance though, and I love. It seems as if there are cracks in the veneer. It seems like it's getting more difficult to me, Michael, for them to push out their propaganda themes. Even yesterday, a great example, Donald Trump pushes out an executive order that is supposedly going to curb the childhood vaccine schedule. It does nothing of the sort. I'll cover it in more detail tomorrow on the show. But essentially, actually, why don't I do this now so that because a lot of people are talking about this. The EO doesn't require pediatricians to provide parents with informed consent regarding the risks of adverse event. The EO doesn't address the glaring issue of extensive liability shields for vaccine manufacturers, which enables them to disregard injuries and death. The EO doesn't address the millions of children already injured or killed by routine vaccination, or the highly flawed VAERS reporting system, the corporate secret injury courts, or the decrepit VSIP compensation program. Doesn't address any of that. The EO doesn't seek to study or conduct any research whatsoever to understand the underlying mechanisms of harm from routine childhood vaccinations. And the EO allows grotesque childhood vaccine mandates to remain in places like New York State and California. They reduce a couple of vaccines. They delay a couple of vaccines by about 2 months. One of the provisions of this said, well, we're not going to give the hepatitis at birth. We're going to give it at 2 months old. So they're going to kill and maim babies at 2 months instead of at birth. But what's the difference, right? So everybody is celebrating this. Again, my response to this, it's bullshit. It is propaganda. It's not real. It won't achieve anything. Mary Talley Bowden agreed. She said it reads like an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal. There's no policy outcome. There's no teeth to it. And the pushback was swift. I mean, he pushed out that EO. That should have gotten them at least 2 to 3 weeks of really good press and really good propaganda on all of the mainstream news sites, but they didn't get it. We ripped that rug right out from underneath them immediately. And that happens in a lot of different ways. The pushback against Flock, the pushback against the data centers. Where are the areas do you think we can push back the most? What are the organizations? What can people do to begin to prepare for what's coming and to push back as we begin to close out the show today?
The first thing is most people are in a position to resist in some way. Sometimes it's just not doing something, right? Mm-hmm. Like not helping, or just gunking up the system a little bit, right? If you're in a position to gunk things up, gunk
wrenches.
them up.
That's my favorite thing to do. It's so bad, but throwing wrenches, like this wrench and that wrench, and using my platform to take the wind out of the sails of a propaganda mission is like one of my favorite things to do.
Right. I mean, and it's effective. I mean, accurate information is extremely important. I mean, or just the idea that these cameras that are doing mass surveillance may be filled with precious metals. I mean, you know what I mean? That's just, people need to examine that for themselves. It's like, but
there are a lot of low-income areas, a lot of low-income, crime areas, and loaded with gold and silver in these flat cameras.
Yeah, hey, there's some psyop, but a lot of, like, when I was on the border, I went across the entire southern border from SpaceX to San Diego. It took a long time, but a lot of the border patrol, and what I would ask them, I talked with a huge amount of Border Patrol. They would say things like, it's the Mexican cartels, and there were a few that actually understood what was going on, but it was, it was a small percent.
Mm-hmm.
But the few who did understand, they really understood. They were a resource to talk with, because
Mm-hmm.
they were the people that didn't just go to work and do what they're told. They actually studied what was going on. But when I talked with Border Patrol who were loading the buses with people invading the country, they would blame it on Mexican cartels often. I'm like, are you with the Mexican cartels? I mean, because you're the one loading the bus, right? Well, it's my job. If I don't, I'll lose my job. I'm like, well, I mean, that means you're deciding that for money you'll
Right.
invade the United States.
That's
That's
right.
the bottom line. Let's just skip to the part where for money you'll invade the United States. So that's what it is. And
Yeah.
likewise, if you're in the military now and you're watching this, or you know somebody in the military who's going to be forced to take the jab, don't take it, period, at all. Nothing. Don't do it. If you take it because, hey, you want that promotion, or you're going to lose your your retirement, that's your choice. You're hot swapping your life for that jab. I mean, there's a lot of people already dead and permanently damaged in other cases, and because they decided to go ahead and take the shot, and now they're dead. Look at Scott Adams running this big mouth, and now he's dead, right?
So
and
sad.
but why is it sad? He got what he wanted. You know what I mean? He got what he wanted.
I
He
know.
was pushing it. He was all arrogant about it, and he can take that up with God, which is where he should take it, because he was pushing that on young people,
Yes, he
right?
was.
And
Yes, he was.
and so he's pushing that on young people. He got what he wanted, so he should. That's glory for him, right?
This is going
And
to
there's
become even more difficult, though, because now that they've approved the flu visa, the mRNA version of the flu shot is a required mandated shot for all military personnel. So even if they
and
avoid,
don't take it. You just don't take it.
I'm telling you, they're retrofitting, or retrofitting is the wrong word to use, but they're creating mRNA versions of every vaccine on the schedule for children and adults. And so I think there's going to come a moment where you will not be able to avoid mRNA in any vaccine if they get their way. So
And they're not vaccines, as we know. These are just these are lethal death jabs. These are weapons.
Yes,
Do not take the weapon. And if you're going to take the weapon for money, then that's your decision. Good luck. I'm not going to say any prayers for you. I'm not going to cry for you. I'm not going to say, oh, poor guy. No, you took money. You took the jab so you could get money. You sold yourself. You made the deal. It was your business deal, and you're dead, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is big boy rules. Big boy rules are in effect, right? And if you with big boy rules, this is an ambush. You walk into it anyway. You get popped in the face with a bullet, and it's game over. It's no joke. And if you put that needle in your arm, you knew what you were going into. You're making a choice. You're for money or whatever. You're going to take it or not take it. Right. Don't take it. Don't take it, no matter what.
I know. I agree. What do you think is going to be the next big choice? Is it going to be the military draft, a digital ID, a digital currency? What do you see happening in the next 2 years? We have about 3 or 4 minutes left.
All those things. And when it comes to the draft, don't do it. I mean, do not be a war slave. They're going to kill you. And they're going to, now that you're drafted, they're going to be hold up your right hand and sign that many papers that you're not going to possibly understand. It's going to have 10,000 back doors in it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't do it.
They're going to jab you up too. If you get drafted, you're going to have to get all your shots. So if you have
you're going to be eating their food, sleeping in their air conditioner when you're in an air conditioned place. They can poison you in 1,000 ways, right? And you're not there to defend the United States. You're there to be liquidated.
This is going to be difficult for Republicans and conservatives because they have been propagandized into patriotism and worshiping the military, worshiping the police, worshiping the people who serve. And in some cases, like you do, I've always been pro-America. I'm very patriotic, but we're in a weird spot right now where I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what rolls out. Do you think that Donald Trump, Axios piece a couple of weeks ago, Insiders in the Trump administration said he couldn't care less about the midterms. He doesn't care that the Democrats are going to win. Doesn't matter to him at all. He's going to be pursuing extreme executive order actions and also mass pardons. So he doesn't care about the midterm elections incoming. Is that evidence that we really don't have elections? And also, is it evidence that he knows something that we don't know? Do you see him deploying an emergency declaration? Do you see him declaring more war on more countries, shutting things down, canceling elections, stealing elections? What do you think could happen in the midterms?
They're going to put up with whatever people will put up with. I mean, they're going to put out if you'll. I mean, if you'll put up with them just coming and burning down your whole town, which apparently seems to be happening, or taking death jabs on millions of people and fools still support him, right? Trump himself is disgusted by people that he can fool like that. He openly mocks them. He mocks them publicly. I mean, he's like, he's disgusted with them. I mean, that type of person, when they see somebody that's that foolish and that weak and that cowardly and will just sell out for French fries, you see these guys like, get your French fries, get your hamburger, and get your vaccine or whatever. They're disgusted with the people that actually fall for it. For them, it's a celebration to kill them off, right? I
think they think that those type of people deserve to die. That's the mindset. The mindset of someone like Trump is, if you're stupid enough to buy the shit that I'm peddling, if you're stupid enough to take my jab, to join my military, to submit to me, to do what I say, to buy my meme coin or my Melania coin, then you deserve losing everything. You deserve to die. You deserve to be injured because you're that dumb. That's Trump's mindset from my perspective.
Clearly, look, he tells the rattlesnake parable all the time,
right.
and it goes on. And it's funny because, again, that's where the opposites come in, right? Like I've told that story in relation to warning about people like Trump, right? Trump tells that story clearly saying that's who he is. I'm telling the story saying that's who he is. And he's telling the story saying that's who he is. We agree.
It's a humiliation ritual. He's mocking them when he tells that story. He's saying he's mocking them. And I think so much of this was one of the things I identified in his first term, frankly, when he defeated Ted Cruz in the primaries. Everyone he defeated in the primary season of 2015, he humiliated. Like, it wasn't good enough to win. It was, he had to crush them, mock them, and make them subservient to him. There was never a gracious win. It tells you a lot about his character, that winning isn't enough. He wants power. He wants dominance. He's very, very
he's trash. He's trash.
He is trash.
I mean, he's basically just trash. Yeah. And remember, sycophants like Trump. He's a sycophant when he's a low dog. He's going to suck up to anybody that's above him. Yes, he'll be on his knees. But the moment he thinks he's got the upper hand, he'll hang you. Right? He'll humiliate, hang, kill. I mean, look, the death jabs.
I know. Michael Yon, I could talk to you for another hour and a half. I really could. Like, we probably could do a couple hours. No, we can't. I have stuff going on this afternoon, or else I actually would. But I'll have you on again. And I mean it when I offer you my platform. I want people who are telling the truth to have access to the Shannon Joy Network and the platform. And so let's collaborate. Let's figure out a way to maybe do something like this to give you more of an access to that. Good luck. We are praying for you and the birth of your new baby, which is so exciting. And 7 weeks. Just amazing information. We just scratched the surface. But once again, tell everyone how they can support you, how they can follow you, where they can get good, accurate information. You said that's one of the biggest, the biggest advantages is having access to good information. I think your Substack is a really great start. But yeah, as we close out, final thoughts and where people can find you and support you.
Right. They can find me on Substack on my name, Michael Yon or Big Honey. Right. And I'm on X, but on Substack is the best, not Patreon or Locals or any of that, just Substack. And I'll introduce you to Mr. Griffin, by the way, as soon as we hang up.
I'm so excited. It's amazing. And I just can't tell you how happy I am to hear about the baby, by the way. So keep in touch. Let me know what's
I am
going
too.
on.
It's all I think about, actually.
We will be, it's so exciting. We'll be praying for you, and you keep up the great work. You're just amazing. Appreciate you.
I've been sending baby videos out to people, and finally Matt Bracken messaged me. Not that we have a baby, but just funny baby video.
Yeah.
Matt Bracken messaged me tonight. He's like, "You've been bitten by the baby bug." It's like because that's all I think about now is bringing this baby in successfully,
Nothing,
and
nothing better. Nothing better. It changed my whole life. The most joy I've ever experienced in my life is with my children. The birth is just miraculous. It's just you cannot even explain it. It's why I fight and this is why I'm so vicious. People are like, Shannon, why are you so mean? And I'm really not mean naturally, but
you're a
when it comes
mama
to my
bear.
when it,
You're a
comes,
mama
when it
bear.
comes to my kids, over my dead body, over my dead body, will they fight for Trump's wars? Not happening. I agree with you 100%. If that's the coalition that we need to build in the next year, I'm here for it. And I will be chained to a tree. So just come to Fairport, New York. I'll be chained to a tree, getting arrested on behalf of my kids again, because this is not going to happen. Period. End of sentence. I'm ready for it. So bring it, Donald Trump. I'm ready for you. Right? That's the
All
demand.
right, let's do it.
Let's do
All
it.
right,
Let's
I'm
do
going to
it.
introduce you to Mr. Griffin, and I'll talk
Okay.
with you later, alligator.
All right. All right. You have a great night. Get some rest.
Bye.
Huge thank you to Michael Yon. Always fascinating, always interesting. He just gets it. There are only a few out there, but there's a growing independent community. He's part of that. His Substack is excellent. I want to encourage all of you guys to click on the link, follow Michael Yon for all of his. He does a lot of commentary there. There is a lot of information there. And he's been out there. He did a great interview with Mario Nawfal, who has a massive, massive following on X. He's been on higher and higher profile programs, and I love seeing all of it. His voice is so incredibly important. So we're going to wrap up this show. I do want to I want to get some of your comments, some of your questions. We're going to go a little bit long. Let me take a little break. Let's take a little commercial break. And when we come back, I want to talk to all of you and get some of your thoughts on the show today. So if you're watching on the live chat on Rumble, all caps, questions, comments. Same with those of you on YouTube. I haven't looked at them in a little while, so re-enter your comments and your questions, and we'll see if we can get to them. And I'll see what's going on Twitter as well. So let's have a little bit of a chat after we come back. But first, let's take a quick commercial break. Of course, as always, please remember the advertisers of the Shannon Joy Show. We couldn't turn the lights on here every day if it weren't for them. So if you're in the market for any of their products or services, use the URLs, use the promo codes JOY, and support those advertisers. We'll be back in a minute right here on the Shannon Joy Show. What if I told you that you could lose weight like you are on a GLP-1 injection without ever having to take the shots? Because not taking the shots is becoming more important than ever. The truth about those so-called miracle injections is finally exploding into courtrooms across America, and the stories are absolutely gruesome. Nearly 4,000 lawsuits are now piling up against Ozempic and its cousins. People are reporting stomach paralysis so severe that food sits and literally rots in their stomachs, endless vomiting, ER tubes down the nose, sudden permanent blindness, pancreatitis, kidney damage, and muscle vanishing so fast it ages the body. Fast forward. The FDA just slapped a gastroparesis warning on the label, yet the claims keep rising. Lawyers are now talking about over $2 billion in damages. The shot that was sold as a miracle is looking a lot less miraculous, and you do not have to risk your health for weight loss. There's a better way, completely natural. Ditch the GLP-1 injections for an all-natural weight loss system with Feel Great by Unicity. Pure yerba mate and powerful fiber fuel your body's own natural GLP-1 production. This system helps with fasting, and it also heals your gut. The best part about this, it's all natural. and you never have to take the shots. It makes true intermittent fasting easy, sustainable, and side effect free. Cravings drop, energy rises, and the weight comes off the way your body was designed without needles or horror story consequences. Thousands of us are already ditching the injections and feeling better than we have in years. Go to shannonjoyhealth.com right now. That's shannonjoyhealth.com right now to learn all about the system. You will get a 90-day trial and also $90 off the full Unicity system. Plus, if you're not completely happy after those 90 days, you get a full refund. Zero risk. Your body was never meant to be a science experiment. Choose that natural path. Find out about Feel Great by Unicity at shannonjoyhealth.com today. All right, guys, you are not All right, guys, you are not dealing with bad skin as an adult with acne. You're dealing with an untreated root cause. It starts small, a little redness, a few bumps, then it expands. You go through the cycle of doctor appointments and trying one product after another with no real results and no relief. You're not alone. 25% of adults struggle with acne, and more than 14 million Americans battle rosacea. I've battled both. 1 in 10 people suffer from chronic dermatitis or eczema. So these are not just cosmetic issues. They itch, they burn, they can crush your confidence. And store-bought treatments only mask the symptoms while ignoring things like bacteria, mites, and inflammation. Many have harsh chemicals that also cause severe side effects, and no one has time for that. Well, Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream from the Wellness Company is different. I use it every day. This is a dermatologist-designed prescription formula that targets the root cause safely and gently under the skin. Azelaic acid helps to clear clogged pores and brighten the skin. Ivermectin targets Demodex mites and reduces inflammation. And metronidazole helps control bacterial overgrowth and calm inflammation and irritation. Stop guessing. Get Clear Skin and Ivermectin Cream today. It works. I love it. My kids use it. I use it. This is going to transform your skin back to normal. twc.health/joy. That is twc.health/joy. Go there right now to get your ivermectin cream. Make sure you use that JOY promo code. You're going to save $20 and also get free shipping. I love this product. You are going to love it too. Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment of the Shannon Joy Show. Amazing conversation with the Michael Yon today on the SJ Show. If you're just joining us now, rewind. It was an unbelievable conversation. We hit a lot of topics. And now I want to hit the live chats. We're going to look at YouTube and Rumble. Nightwatch NA, great to see you on the live chat. Some really great comments. Hey, Epic Realty 380. This is a great question, and I'm glad that you asked this. Hey, Shannon, love the show. Why did YouTube take down the interview last Thursday with Danielle's mom? It was so eye-opening. I tried sharing it from YouTube, but it said it was removed by the uploader. That uploader would be yours truly. It's me. Unfortunately, there is still censorship and also demerits from YouTube if you touch issues and topics that are too close to challenging medical dogma of the day. So typically, when I do a medical show or I talk about the medical industrial complex or the jabs, those type of things in detail, I do not air them on YouTube. I click off that button, I toggle it off. I forgot to do that with the show with Danielle's mom. And I want to keep that show up, but I want to keep my platform on YouTube. So we took it down so that we wouldn't get those flags on YouTube. But you can get that show on Rumble. And I'm also going to be promoting it on Rumble as well. So I'm going to re-promote that show because I agree with you. I think it's really important. So you can grab that on Rumble and share that link, and that should work for you. Nightwatch and 8 has some comments here. Dispensationalism and the idea of a divine mandate to return the Jewish people to trigger the second coming sowed the seeds for later generations of British elites like Arthur Balfour. Night Watch 8, that's a great point. That's a little deeper theologically than I can go in the next couple minutes because the show's almost over. But I can say, as an evangelical Christian growing up in the evangelical church, that was a very real theme, right? It's kind of weird when you think about it. Now, I'm a born again Christian. I've been born again for 47 years. And I mean, ever since I was a little, I accepted Jesus into my heart when I was like 3 or 4 years old. So my whole life, I've been a Christian. But there is a weird theme in some evangelical circles that almost wishes for and wants for the end of the world, because the end of the world means that Jesus comes back and they get to go to be with Jesus. So in a weird way, it's almost like a dystopian death cult, only the Christian version on the right, evangelical. And I think there are versions in every religion or movement. There's the death cult version of it. That's not biblical. Christ said, they asked Jesus Christ when he walked the earth, the number one question: when is the world going to end? When is God coming back? When will all that happen? And Jesus was very, very clear. In fact, he was crystal clear. He said, and I will paraphrase, no one knows, not even myself. I don't even know. Only the Father knows. Only God knows when that is going to happen. So wishing for it, wanting for it, angling for it, trying to create chaos so that it happens prematurely, none of that is from Scripture. None of that is biblical. So, but it is a very, very heavy, heavy theme in certain evangelical circles. And I think that it is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So thank you, Nightwatch 8. Thank you, Epic Realty 380 on YouTube. Hey, Celtic Girl, great to see this. See you on the live chat on YouTube. You guys are great. Please like the show, hit the thumbs up, share it, join the live chat. It's amazing. We also have some comments on the Rumble live chat on some of the conversations that I had with Michael Yon today. Here we have one. What do we have? Let me see what we have here. I'm looking for all caps. There's a lot of commentary on the live chat on Rumble right now, but not really any questions. Who else do we have here? We have Buskman, Mark the Regan. We have Bye Bye. Who is excited about the prospect of an introduction between myself and the amazing G. Edward Griffin? I would love to have him on my show. I think that would be amazing. All right, well then that's it, guys. Hey, Max Clipman, great to see you on the live chat. Hells Bay, thanks for being with us today. Ollie Robin 9, thanks for being with us as well. I love today's show. I think there was a lot of optimism there. Never give up, all right? They want us to be miserable. They want you to be afraid. They want us to embrace the chaos. They want us to consent to all of the horrible things that they're doing to us. Really, the first step is just emancipating yourself. Don't play their games. Don't buy into the propaganda. Educate yourself as best you can. Build up your community around you, that physical community, face in the sun, feet on the ground, friendship, organization at that local level. Those are the things that are going to create the biggest problems for the people who want to consolidate all the power and control everything. Shed those political parties, not left, not right, just the truth every day. That's what we do here on the Shannon Joy Show. And of course, please remember our sponsors here on the SJ Show. Use those URLs, use the JOY promo code. You can scroll down right now in the description of the show and get links to all of the products and services that we talked about today in those commercial breaks. So you guys are fantastic. Thank you for being with us today on the show, and keep it tuned right here. We're going to be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.